There's something really compelling about finding a document that, wow, wasn't meant to be seen. Something pulled right from the FBI vault.
Oh, absolutely. That idea alone just grabs you, doesn't it?
Yeah, like you're peeking behind the curtain. And today, we're diving into one of those, a document linked to Operation Majestic-12.
A name that instantly brings up ideas of deep government secrets, UFOs. It's a whole world of fascination.
Right. And what we've got here, it isn't just hearsay. We're looking at actual scanned pages, FDI airtels, these teletype messages they use,
For urgent stuff.
and a briefing paper. And the markings jump right out at you. Top secret magic, secret, confidential.
Yeah, those classifications tell you straight away this was considered really sensitive material at the time.
So our job here, basically, as requested by our partners at Bald and Bonkers Network, LLC, is to really dig into these pages. We want to see exactly what this FBI file says about Majestic-12.
What's the information? What questions does it leave us with? Let's unpack it.
Okay, so where do we start? Let's look at the first message. It's an airtel from Dallas, SAC Dallas.
Right, October 25th, 1988. Sent to the FBI director.
And the subject line kind of says it all. Unsubmaterial possible disclosure of classified information regarding Operation Majestic-12. Unsubmaterial restricted stuff.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is why Dallas is sending this. They say they've got an envelope with a document possibly classified about Majestic-12.
Okay.
But it seems the whole thing kicked off because of local publicity. Apparently, this Majestic-12 stuff was being talked about on a Dallas radio show.
A radio talk show.
Yeah.
Discussing something supposedly top secret.
Within the last 6 weeks, according to the airtel, they were talking about the operation, individuals involved, government secrecy, the whole 9 yards.
Wow. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
imagine that raising some alarms.
Definitely. And the Dallas SEC makes a good point. This document they have is supposedly from, well, way back, over 35 years old, even in 1988. So their question is this thing still classified? Or has it been declassified somewhere along the line? They don't want to start an investigation if it's old news, basically.
Makes sense. So they're asking FBI HQ for guidance. Tell us if this is still secret before we do anything.
Exactly. Holding off until they hear back.
And it's worth pointing out, this airtel itself, the one asking the question, it's marked secret.
Yeah, even asking about it is sensitive. That tells you something about the MJ-12 topic within the Bureau, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so this Dallas airtel mentions a purported document. What exactly is that document?
Well, later messages give us a clearer picture. They start referring to a specific thing, a briefing document, Operation Majestic-12, and it's dated November 18th, 1952.
1952. Okay, that seems to be the core document everyone's talking about. Let's get into that. Page 1. How does it start?
It jumps right in. Describes Majestic-12 as a top-secret research and development intelligence operation. Very high level.
Aha.
Says it was set up by President Truman. Special Executive Order, September 24th, 1947.
Wow, specific date.
Yeah. And apparently it was based on recommendations from people like Dr. Vannevar Bush and Secretary James Forrestal.
Big names from that era. Wartime science chief for Secretary of Defense.
Exactly. And it mentions an attachment A that supposedly lists the members of this Majestic-12 group.
So if this document is real, that's huge. Right after Roswell, basically.
The timing is definitely suggestive, yeah. Having names like Bush and Forrestal attached gives it a kind of weight, even if we don't know if the document itself is legit.
So page 2. Does it have the list, attachment A?
Well, page 2 is the list, or claims to be.
Yeah.
It names people like Adam Hillenkoetter, General Nathan Twining, Bush again, Forrestal.
Wait, Forrestal? He died in 49. This document's dated 52.
Good catch. The list does note Forrestal as deceased, May 49, and says replacement pending August 1950.
That seems odd. For a top-secret briefing in late 52 to still say replacement pending August 1950.
It's definitely a red flag, isn't it? You'd think an official, highly classified document would be up to date on something like that. It raises questions about authenticity right away.
It does. Okay, who else is on this list?
Let's see. Robert Montague, Dr. Lloyd Berkner, Jerome Hunsaker, Sidney Sowers, Gordon Gray, a mix of military science intelligence figures.
Right, the kind of group you might expect for something like this,
Yeah.
hypothetically. But that Forrestal detail is sticky.
Very. Okay, moving to page 3. The focus shifts a bit. It talks about that famous sighting by a civilian pilot, Kenneth Arnold, over Washington state. June 24th, 1947. 9 disc-shaped objects.
Right, the one that really kicked off the modern UFO flap.
Exactly. The document says this wasn't the first sighting, but it's the one that grabbed public attention, leading to tons of similar reports.
And it mentions the initial confusion, agencies not knowing how to handle it.
Yeah, it talks about uncoordinated efforts at first, and the military trying to figure out what these things were, and public reaction bordering on hysteria.
Sounds historically accurate in terms of the timeline of events back then.
It does align pretty well with the known history of that period. Then it transitions, says, despite all the sightings, not much concrete info was gathered until
Roswell.
Bingo. Until a rancher reported finding a crashed disc near Roswell, New Mexico.
And the timeline fits too, right?
Yeah.
Arnold sighting in June, Roswell in early July 47?
Yep, the chronology presented lines up with the commonly accepted sequence.
Okay, page 4. This must be about the Roswell recovery itself.
It is. Details the operation to secure the crash site, starting early July 47, for scientific study.
And this is where it gets really wild, presumably.
This is where it describes aerial reconnaissance finding 4 humanoid-like beings.
Wow.
Apparently ejected before the craft exploded, found about 2 miles from the main wreckage, described as decomposed already.
Humanoid beings.
Yeah.
They're the core of the whole Roswell alien story, right there in this supposed 1952 briefing.
Pretty much. It's very explicit. And it mentions the military securing the site, which is, a huge point of contention in the Roswell debate.
And the cover story.
Mentioned right there. It says a cover story about a misguided weather research balloon was used effectively by military witnesses.
The weather balloon.
Of course.
The classic explanation, presented here as the official line for the public.
Okay, page 5. What happens next in this narrative?
It describes a covert analytical effort led by General Twining and Dr. Bush.
Back to them. What did they conclude?
Their preliminary thought on the disk itself was that it was likely a short-range reconnaissance craft.
Why?
Based on its size and, interestingly, a lack of identifiable provisions, like no food, no long-haul stuff.
Huh. Okay. And what about the occupants?
Similar analysis, this one led by a Dr. Bronk. The conclusion was, well, tentative, but that they were human-like in appearance. But their biology, their evolution, was quite different from humans.
Different how? Does it say? Not in detail on this page, but it's where the term extra-terrestrial biological entities, EBEs, supposedly comes from.
EBEs, coined by Dr. Bronk, according to this.
That's what the document claims. It's a key piece of the Majestic-12 lore, giving these beings a specific sort of scientific-sounding label.
Right. Okay, page 6. Where did they think this craft and the EBEs came from?
It says they were virtually certain they weren't from Earth, not from any country here.
So off-world.
Yeah. Possibility of another solar system is mentioned. It also talks about finding unusual symbols or writing on the debris.
Like hieroglyphics or something.
Something like that. Efforts to decipher them were apparently largely unsuccessful. Mentions an attachment B for details on the symbol.
Another attachment we don't have.
Right. And it notes the propulsion system was unknown. No engines, no jets, nothing recognizable. And the construction was weird, too. Not typical aircraft metals or design.
Suggesting something way beyond 1947 tech.
That's the implication. It even speculates the whole thing might have been designed to completely destroy itself on impact or if captured.
Okay, page 7. Where does the story go? More crashes, more sightings.
It talks about the need for more information. What are these things? What are they doing here? This apparently led to setting up U.S. Air Force Project Saiyan in December 1947.
Project Saiyan. I've heard of that. That was a real Air Force UFO study.
Exactly. And this document tries to link it. It says Saiyan was supposed to liaise with Majestic-12, but the info flow was limited.
So Majestic-12 was above Side.
That's the picture it paints. And it notes Saiyan evolved into Project Drudgy in late 48, and then later became Project Blue E-Book.
Drudgy and Blue Book were real, too.
Yes. So the document is weaving these known real projects into its narrative about the secret Majestic-12 Group controlling things from behind the scenes.
Interesting way to build credibility, maybe.
Right.
Or just muddy the waters.
Could be either. Then page 8 describes another incident. December 6, 1950.
Another crash.
Yeah, down near the Texas-Mexico border, the Guerrero area. An object apparently identical to the Roswell one hit the ground at high speed after coming through the atmosphere at a shallow angle.
Did they recover anything that time?
Not really. Says a recovery team found it almost totally incinerated. No identifiable parts left. Just mentions the ongoing intelligence and counterintelligence issues these events raise.
So a second data point, but not much physical evidence according to this.
Right. Then page 9 brings us up to the time the document was supposedly written, late 1952.
Okay.
It mentions a significant increase in sightings starting that autumn, causing a lot of concern.
1952 was a huge year for UFO sightings, Washington, D.C. flap and all that.
It was. The document reflects that, highlighting the obvious international and technological considerations and the need to really understand what's going on.
And what did Majestic-12 recommend, according to this?
They apparently recommended keeping the whole thing classified, keeping the clandestine projects going. Business as usual, but stay alert.
But what about telling the public?
It suggests having contingency plans ready, just in case they had to make an announcement. Refers to attachment C.
Another attachment. Okay.
And finally, page 10 starts with that really stark classification. Top secret magic, eyes only.
Eyes only. Wow.
Yeah, it hammers home the secrecy, talks about potential public disclosure again, the need for authorized briefings only, strict security, severe penalties for leaks, the usual high-level security boilerplate, essentially.
So that's the briefing document, according to these files. Quite a story.
It is a very detailed, very specific narrative. Now, how did the FBI get involved again later?
Right, let's jump forward. We have another airtel, this time from Salt Lake City, dated October 15th, 1991.
Okay, 3 years after the Dallas one.
Subject: Majestic-12 possible classified document. Sent to the director again. This one's marked CL.
CAL. That's not a standard classification I recognize. Secret, top secret, confidential, but CAL.
Yeah, it's unclear. Maybe an internal FBI code, local thing, maybe even a typo. Hard to say just from this.
Interesting. What happened in Salt Lake City?
This is bizarre. They enclosed a 9-page document dated November 18th, 1952. Sounds like our briefing paper, right?
Almost certainly.
Get this. Someone, identified only as J, contacted the duty agent, said they found the document just lying on the lobby floor of the FBI field office.
On the floor of an FBI office, a top secret document.
I know, it sounds completely unbelievable. This person apparently read it, got concerned, and handed it in.
You can see why Salt Lake City's first reaction, according to the airtel, was that it was probably a hoax.
Totally understandable. The discovery method alone screams fake.
But then it gets a little more complicated. They shared a summary with their Department of Defense liaison
To see if DoD knew anything about Project Sign-In, Gray G, or Blue Book, which were mentioned in the document.
Right, and the airtel says something interesting here. It says DoD representatives reportedly buttressed a portion of the document.
Buttressed? What does that mean exactly? Supported it. Confirmed something.
It's vague, isn't it? It suggests that something in the document may be related to those Air Force projects, matched up with what DoD knew. Not that the whole thing was real, but some part resonated.
So even though they thought it was likely a hoax, this DoD feedback made them think twice.
It seems so. Based on that DoD comment and instructions from someone called Dad Brandon, they sent the document up to FBI headquarters for a closer look, specifically regarding DoD interest in those projects.
Okay, so HQ gets involved again. What happens next?
We see an airtel from FBI HQ dated November 15th, 1991. This one's from Harry B. Brandon III, maybe the Dad Brandon mentioned earlier, Acting Assistant Director, Intelligence Division.
Okay, who's addressed to?
The commander of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, the OSI.
Ah, looping the Air Force back in.
Exactly. Subject is about possible unauthorized disclosure relating to Majestic-12, and this message is classified top secret magic.
Back to that classification. So HQ is taking it seriously, at least the potential security angle.
Definitely. Brandon writes that the Bureau recovered this document, maybe classified, dated 1952, about MJ-12, mentioning alien craft recovery. He acknowledges it might be a hoax. But the FBI has to investigate potential leaks of classified info, hoax or not, covering their bases.
So what do they ask the Air Force OSI to do?
Try to figure out who originated the document and if it's actually classified now. Basically, is this real? Is it yours? Is it still secret?
A reasonable request. Ask the likely source.
A logical step. If it was a real classified Air Force document from 1952, OSI might know something.
Okay, so the ball's in the Air Force's court. What's the conclusion?
Well, we get an answer pretty quickly. Just 3 days later, November 18th, 1991, there's another airtel from FBI HQ.
This one goes to?
Back to SAC, Dallas. Remember they started this whole thing back in '88?
Right.
Subject is Majestic-12, and the message is short and sweet.
Let me guess.
It tells Dallas the document is bogus and the case should be closed.
Bogus. So, final verdict from the FBI. Fake.
Seems so. Based on whatever they found out, likely including feedback from OSI, They determined the document wasn't authentic classified material requiring further investigation. Case closed.
Huh, okay. Is that the end of the file?
Almost. There's one last thing. A page deletion notice, meaning a page that was originally in this FBI file number 658111705, has been removed, withheld from release.
Why, does it say?
It lists the usual reasons, the legal exemptions. Could be info about a third party, could have originated with another agency like the CIA or NSA, could be national security related, various possibilities. There's a reference number for the deleted page.
So even in this file declaring the main document bogus, there's still something being withheld. That just adds another layer, doesn't it?
It always does. A missing piece always fuels more questions.
Okay, let's try to wrap this up. Our deep dive, requested by Bald and Bonkers Network LLC, into this FBI file. What are the main takeaways?
Well, we saw these documents that describe a supposed secret group, Majestic-12, formed after Roswell to handle UFOs and alleged alien bodies.
Right. The briefing paper laid out a whole narrative. The crash, the EBEs, the cover-up, Project Sinane, Grudge, Blue Book being involved, even a second crash.
And we tracked the FBI's interactions with this material. First in '88 after a radio show mention, then in '91 when the document mysteriously appeared in Salt Lake City.
We saw that flicker of intrigue when the DoD apparently buttressed some part of it.
Before the FBI ultimately consulted with the Air Force OSI and officially declared the document bogus.
But even with that bogus label from the FBI, you're left wondering, aren't you?
Absolutely. Was Majestic-12 real in some form? Was the briefing paper a total fake or maybe disinformation? Did it mix fact and fiction?
And what was on that page the FBI deleted from the file? The questions don't really go away.
No, they don't, and it shows why this whole topic persists. The documents themselves, real or not, tap into that deep public fascination with the unknown, with secrets, with the possibility that we're not alone and someone knows more than they're telling.
Secrecy breeds speculation, right? The less official information there is, the more these kinds of stories take root.
Precisely. Which kind of leads to a final thought, maybe?
Go for it.
When you're dealing with stuff like this, historical claims, alleged government secrets, documents marked top secret, even if later called bogus missing pages, how do you even figure out what's real?
Yeah, what counts as actual evidence when the whole landscape is designed to be obscured?
It's a tough question. How do you navigate these narratives when you know you probably don't have the full picture and maybe never will? It's something to chew on long after looking through these FBI files.